Amendment number 223, printed in the congressional record, offered by Mr. Pascrell of New Jersey.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a former mayor, I've always believed that our nation's first responders constitute both our first and our last line of defense for the American people. This continuing resolution before us today fails our first responders. Regrettably, we're treating these public safety officers as being non-security discretionary spending and have subjected them to drastic cuts. Real Homeland Security started, we all remember, on 9/11 when we were attacked on our own soil. It was our brave cops and firefighters who ran into the burning buildings. The federal government was not there. To say that funding our cops and firefighters is not national security spending is ludicrous. Our brave local police officers and firefighters who protect our streets day and night are the very essence of our national security. Earlier in the process, we debated the COPS program. Amendment tonight restores critical funding for its counterpart, the Fire Act and the SAFER grant programs. The continuing resolution significantly reduces funding for the fire grant and eliminates all funding for SAFER, over $510 million in cuts in total. This would absolutely devastate, it would be devastating for our public safety professionals who rely on this funding for the equipment and personnel they need to protect our communities. The fire and SAFER grants help local fire departments equip, train, maintain their personnel, preparing them to respond to all forms of an emergency. And things changed, didn't they, after 9/11? An independent evaluation of the fire program published by the U.S. Fire Administration concluded that it was highly effective in improving the readiness and capabilities of firefighters across the nation. I may add, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, that the fire programs and the COPS programs are among the highest efficient and effective programs run by the federal government. Money goes directly to the communities so states can't skim off the top. And they are effective and they are competitive. And no one has challenged that in 10 years. SAFER has been critical to many local departments who, as a result of recent economic downturns, have been forced to cut personnel and services. What effect would cuts to these programs have? Let's go to the real world, not the video. Bethesda Volunteer Fire Department in Coleman, Alabama. They used the fire grant to purchase personnel protective equipment, which now allows them to enter a burning structure to search for victims and to extinguish the fires. Previously, the department did not have the proper equipment to do this. Today, they have greatly reduced the amount of total loss structures in the region. North County Fire Protection District in Fallbrook, California. They were able to purchase emergency backup power generators. During the 2007 San Diego firestorms, power failed throughout the community early on the first day and was not completely restored in the community for 2 weeks. The emergency power generators they purchased with their fire grant allowed them to keep all the facilities fully functional. Before the Bell Chase Volunteer Fire Department in Bell Chase, Louisiana, received a SAFER grant in 2008, the department could not comply with the National Fire Protection Association standards. There is such a thing. Before we cut something, we should know what the alternatives are. Its initial alarm assignment capability was only 20% in that town. That insufficient level of service put the communities and the volunteer firefighters at considerable risk for injury or even the loss of life. Thanks to the SAFER grant, the department was able to hire 45 firefighters, increase the rate of compliance, and is now estimated that the compliance is 90%, and increase its initial alarm dispatch with 3 more engine companies. Together, Fire and SAFER, those 2 bills. Can I
Yields back.
request unanimous consent for 1 more minute?
Objection.
Thank you.
Hearing none, gentleman is recognized for an additional 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Together, Fire and SAFER grants have provided over $7 billion in firefighter jobs for local fire departments. Serious business. We're talking about life, limb, and we're talking about property here. To me, cutting these critical programs, especially when local fire departments' budgets are already strained, we're facing it in all of our districts. You know that. My amendment restores the funding for Fire and SAFER to their fiscal year 2010 levels. $390 million for Fire, $420 million for SAFER. Because of the rule, we're forced to reluctantly take funding from DHS Science and Technology. If this amendment passes, I hope we can restore some of the funding during conference. I hope that both sides will come together on this. It has bipartisan support. We need to protect our firefighters. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman yields back. For what
I yield
purpose
back.
does the gentleman